Hello, welcome to a webinar, a lunch webinar. Today, we're talking context-driven customer success. Really happy to have you. We're going to have a full 30 minutes together. It's going to be packed with a lot of stuff. I'm Johan Nilsson. I'm the founder and CEO of Start Deliver, and I have a real special guest with me today. It's Mikko Honkanen from one of the co-founders of Vainu, long background in SaaS, and is also investing in SaaS companies. So really happy to have you. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and greetings from Helsinki. It's exciting to be part of the webinar.
Yeah, I think this topic is really super relevant, and there's a lot of things we're going to cover, and just a few things so everybody. First of all, we record this, so if you want to catch up on something later on, you will get the recording. We will also do a Q&A, live Q&A in the end. So there is a button in the Zoom app that you can add post questions, and we will cover them in the end. You can of course ask questions, save them for later, or just post them there. So we'll do that. We're also going to do some polls, so please answer the polls, and we will get some live data on your opinions and what you how the situation is for you with some of these topics we will cover. So we have a busy agenda, and one of the things, I mean, Mikko, a lot of the people joining this webinar is SaaS companies, and I know you did a big report on SaaS companies in the Nordics, 1,000 of them. I thought it was a really interesting report. Was there any interesting findings from your part there?
Yes, so happy to cover some of the findings, and as I said, I'm Mikko, one of the co-founders of Vainu, also having board seat in a few other SaaS companies. One of them is Trust Mary, and I know they're just implementing Start Deliver, so you can also call me as your customer these days. But yes, indeed, at Vainu we did a study on SaaS companies, so we developed a new way to profile software businesses, and of course we wanted to have one segment and one category which is called SaaS. So we profile companies, and there are indeed thousands of SaaS businesses in the Nordics, and the number is going up in all the countries. I also look at the revenue growth figures and some profitability data. Finnish companies, they're not growing as fast as Swedish companies or Danish companies, for example, but they seem to be most profitable at the moment. Swedish companies growing fast and okay's EBITDA numbers as well. The ones that are growing the fastest are Danish companies, but they also seem to burn more money than the others. I don't know if it's the reason that they have just raised lots of funding lately, and now they have put the growth mode on. But yeah, lots of insights, and if you happen to sell to SaaS businesses, you can actually download that list of 1,000 SaaS businesses in the Nordics, including lots of data points about them. You can just go to vainu.com, and it's one of those free downloads in there.
Yeah, I think it's great for everyone in SaaS that you want to benchmark a little bit and see how other people are doing. It's a great report to look at. And data, that's a key top part of today's topic as well. So, and it's also interesting to see that a little bit varies between the Nordics as well. So looking into the agenda points, what we are to cover. So maybe we call this context-driven customer success, and I think if we start with the first topic here, why customers churn. My background, I've been with SaaS for a long time, growing SaaS companies, working as selling to new customers, And for me, sometimes whenever we had a churn, it was almost like I got physically ill for losing a customer that I fought so hard to get in the first place. When I started doing, when we looked into this a lot in my previous company, I always found like early signals on why this happened. So the first time we got a churn, it was like a blow to the stomach and really hard on us. But then we realized, of course, there is reasons behind it, and we shouldn't be surprised. So that's like my personal view here. I don't know what's your comment there.
Yeah, I think, of course, all SaaS companies, they have also customers that are leaving or downgrading. I mean, we all know that we are also customers for many SaaS businesses, and sometimes it might be the moment to leave a product behind and move on. But I think it's of course interesting to see. I think on the top of my head, I would say that the main reason why companies are churning is that they're not using the product, or they're not getting the value they expected. But I think product usage is number one thing, that you have a value prop, you have a sort of solution that you're selling, and you have a problem or a challenge in mind that you're solving. And if they don't use it, of course, then it's only a smart thing for them to move on. But then there are, of course, other reasons as well. And but since you know this topic these days, and I would imagine that you have lots of data as well, being a CS platform. So what are your thoughts? Like, what are the main reasons, and also what are the main tactics to drive, especially cross churn, down? Like, what can companies do to drive it down?
Yeah. No, but being through this myself, having worked in a company, we had too high churn, and we churned customer we shouldn't have churned. Sometimes, you have a wrong type of customer, and then maybe some churn is not bad because it was a bad fit customer maybe. But my findings here, and since we work with a lot of SaaS companies, is that some of these churn issues, they are they need to be solved on high level. They need to be solved upstream, if you like. It's not about adding more customer success managers. It's about it starts with the leadership. Are we really serious about making our customers successful? And I've seen this many times, that you have some parts of your product is broken, for instance. It's not working, and so it's maybe sellable, but it's not working when the customer is onboarded, and it doesn't matter what customer success does unless you fix that, of course. Another one is that you sales can bring in any customer they want. There's no rules around which customers we should have, and that sets up for failure as well. So there's some like upstream problems that you need to solve. But then you need to, if given that you're working on those things and those are not the issue, then it's all about what customer success management should be doing is working proactively. And I think this is like the main thing here, is that you need to have time in your week where you really work in a proactive way with your customers. I think that's like a key thing to change churn. Firefighting is really low efficient. It takes a lot of resource, but it has very little. The outcome is usually quite bad when you try to turn around the terminated customer already. So you need to start earlier, basically. So I would say those are like some of the real key things to do, and that requires it's for many companies it's a new way of working, and it takes like a it's a turnaround you have to do there to make a real impact on the gross churn.
Another thing that I think is interesting in CS is that simply by knowing gross retention or net retention for a company, I don't feel that I can say if the CS team is strong, because I think certain products have sort of different starting points for churn. We all know that often SMBs, they have higher churn than enterprise customers, but also there's lots of differences between the products. And I think it's important that you know what is your sort of starting or average churn for the industry or the space that you're in. And then you can start benchmarking how well you're doing as a team and as a product when you're comparing segment by segment the churn figures that you have.
Definitely, I would say that as well. And also I think it's all about, you start measuring this, then you can start seeing improvements, right? So you have everybody has a starting point where you are right now, and what do we do to improve from there? Yeah. So I fully agree with that one.
I have a question
Yes.
because I remember the first time when I started working with these terms like net churn and cross churn, that was a little bit more than 10 years ago. And back then we definitely did not have any playbooks or methodologies available. I mean, you had to do lots of Googling to find relevant content, but how is it today? I would imagine that nowadays there are lots of methodologies and playbooks, but how good is the overall CS customer success know-how regarding playbooks when it comes to, for example, the customers and prospects that you meet?
No, but I think there's been a big development. I mean, customer success is under high. I mean, it's growing a lot. It's if you look at how many are open ads, job ads there is for a customer success manager now compared to 5 years or 10 years ago, it was none. It's growing a lot, this area, and it's spreading to more industries than SaaS as well. So I think it's rising as a function within the companies, and with that comes a lot more know-how as well. But I would say a lot of companies are still building this area, and also like working on setting the processes, the playbooks, the workflows. But there's a lot happening here, and I think there's two things I think especially driving this. One is that SaaS is now becoming a really big sector, and everyone in SaaS is looking at retention rates. It's like a key metric. That's one part. The other part is that with growing SaaS, it's also growing competition. So customer success, there's the customers they have more to choose from. It's usually easier to switch between tools and systems now. So you really have to be constantly working on the customer getting value from the product. But I would say it's still early days. That's my view on this. It's still early days in customer success. People are investing in it, which I think is great, and a lot of people are joining it and starting their careers in customer success. So I think that's also great.
Indeed. We jump into the context.
Yes.
Context-driven customer success.
Yes, and from you, I mean, so there's of course a lot of internal information that impacts the success of a customer. Like, are they using the product? Are they having a good experience with us? Are we getting like, are we having progress and so on? But what kind of external context data points do you think are important for customer success?
Yeah, I think there are lots of interesting data points. I would imagine all CS leaders and ops leaders who have CS platform, customer success platform in place, there's some sort of health index metric in place for customers, and then you can obviously add and remove certain data points that are impacting that metric. Many of them are indeed internal, and I think it makes sense because you have product usage and lots of that type of data points, and of course information about number of users and how the usage is trending up or down, what are they actually doing in the app, and maybe you ask NPS and different type of questions. But I think also, obviously, since Vaino is a company database and we focus on external data points, we do know that, for example, ability to segment customers so that you know in detail, like what are the clusters you have in your existing portfolio. Do you see some similarities between them? Also, something called workflow triggers, because the trigger event could be based on internal data, maybe champion moving on or product usage going down. But that same applies to external data points. If your customer is being acquired, of course, there should be some sort of workflow that gets started right away. Or if your customer is expanding to other places, if they implement another piece of technology, maybe that's the trigger moment or trigger event that should lead to discussions about integrations. But I think the key is to build some, like, I don't know, workflows or plays or journeys so that you can also scale it. So that every time when this happens, our team will do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Still, every now and then I see CS teams and that are not proactive, and they are just sort of extension of support. But I think if you build like proactive CS team, then it becomes revenue engine and not just an extension of support. But I mean, there are a lot of data points, and those of course differ from company to company quite a bit.
Interesting what you say with tech stack there, because I think that could be like both a threat and an opportunity. Like if you see that they have added whatever Salesforce or whatever to their tech stack, and you have an app or you have an integration with that, then maybe you're getting even closer to the customer, and you can do more with them, and you can expand, and you can do more. But if you don't have that, maybe then you need to build it, or you need to talk to the customer and be very aware that they are looking now maybe at someone that has that one. So
I mean, that's the case for us at Vaino. We, for example, integrate with most of the CRMs. So if I have a customer and they have their Salesforce integration fully up and running, but if I do get a notification from Vaino that, hey, it seems that they're implementing Dynamics or HubSpot, obviously I want to be part of those discussions. We do have integrations for Dynamics and HubSpot as well, but we need to be part of those discussions if they're doing a move from Salesforce to something else, or from something else to Salesforce. So I think, and then again, I think you can scale it if you have some workflows designed for the team. What will the team do? What are the actions they will take when they see something? So I think that's why it's a combination of internal data points and external data points. Is that also, when I look at Start Deliver, I can see that you emphasize integrations a lot, right? So I guess the plan is to bring CES platform together with marketing automation and CRM, and the goal is that you have all these data points available for the customer.
Yeah. No, I think a common situation for customer success is that you're a little bit stuck in between everything else, and you don't have a real tool for you, and you need to look at several different places. You need to look at your own admin. You need to look in the CRM. You need to look in the support, and you need to look in the feedback, and so on. So we build Start Deliver with integrations first, basically. So you should in Start Deliver, you should have all the data on your customers that you have in your other tools. So we invested a lot in that, and we believe, I think this new world where with APIs, there is like an opportunity now to really do seamless integrations everywhere, and it's a big strength in that, because then you can really use niche tools for other stuff, and then you can have a really good tool for customer success, for instance.
So I'm still waiting for the moment when we see CS, marketing, new business all working together. I have an example that I think would be nice to see. So let's say that I have my customers and I have all the data in the CS platform. The moment when the data or health index goes to the highest number, let's say that it's 10, I think that should be a notification for someone in the content creation team that, hey, maybe there's case study potential with this account. And then you do the case study, you publish that case study on your website. That should then trigger new business team and marketing team that, hey, we have this new case study, let's promote that case study. Maybe it could be used as an ad, and then new business, if you have the data, you find easily lookalike companies and similar companies that most likely feel that case study is relevant for them. You place a LinkedIn ad, and also you notify salespeople that with these accounts, these are some of the talking points. This is a great reference for this customer because they have so many similarities. So I think when you start building that customer data platform and you have that 360-degree view, you can do actually lots of awesome things, not only with customers, but also for new business and marketing. I think that leads us to like the discussion of ideal customer profile and how important that is in CS.
Yeah, no, I fully agree there. And I think that's, I think customer success can interact a lot with marketing and sales. And of course, the natural one is with onboarding and even with trials and so on. But then when there is a customer, to use them for like advocacy, to use them in case studies, and also to use customer data for segmenting customer marketing. There's a lot to be done in that area as well. Yes, but we have a lot of topics. So maybe we should move on to this ideal customer profile, because I think it's interesting. What's your take on that one? If we start from a sales point of view.
I think there's lots of development happening right now. Personally, I've invested most of my working time the past couple of years into this very topic, because all companies, they want to define their ideal customer profile, and it makes sense. You want to sell to customers that are a good fit, and you know that you have better retention rates with them and you can build value for them. But I think now we're also like approaching the moment when you can be extremely specific with that ICP definition. Up until now, many companies, maybe they have said that it's companies in the Nordics that are more than 10 employees but less than 100, and then industry is software. That's my ICP. But I think I would imagine Start Deliver and Vainu were both software companies, but if you look at what we actually do, we're quite different. You focus on building a CS platform. Vainu is a company data platform. We sell data, you sell platform for CS. And it should be possible for all CS people and ops people to differentiate these two companies. And that's why we've been developing lots of these like very detailed data points that you can actually see when you profile Start Deliver, that it's, yes, it's a software company, but it's also something to do with customer success. They heavily invest in integrations. It's all about providing analytics for operations people, while Vainu is about data integration and sales and marketing and operates in the CRM space. So I think there's lots of that type of information that is available. And I know CS people today, most of you are building some sort of cohort analysis. And I think if you have specific ICP data, then those cohorts are also revealing a lot more information and insights when you don't just cover software as one sector, but you can actually have subsegments for that.
Yeah, and it's also, I think it's also sometimes it's good to use like to use the ICP also to disqualify. So if they don't fit the ICP, then we should not spend time chasing that customer, basically. And I think that's going back to the what we talked about in the beginning there too. If you have a lot of bad fit customers, that's a really important thing to feed back to management, to the sales leadership, that if we bring in this type of customer, then they will not be happy with us, whatever we do in customer success. So I think there is. I think this is improving now, but I know a lot of our customers and discussions we have with customers is that there is still some issues where sales is maybe not completely aligned with this with what is a bad fit as well. So ideal is one thing, but the other side is also bad fit. So maybe sometimes it's easier to also which ones are we not going to sign as a customer.
Yeah, super important. Not an easy thing to do, of course. I mean, we all have quotas and all that, so it's not easy to say no. But I think it just pays off if you are able to say no every now and then. One way, I mean, you can of course decide that these are the ideal customers, but one way to define your real ideal customers, at least the ones that are happy at the moment, just look at, for example, the ones that are spending more time and effort with your platform. So usage is going up. Maybe you're also able to upsell them because they have more needs. I mean, at least for me, it's a fairly easy way to say that, well, these companies are actually happy and buying more and investing more into us. I mean, those are ideal customers. You want to have that type of customers. So then CS can also play very important role in that ICP definition, because they have first-hand information who are the customers who also invest more. By the way, do you feel these days we always talk about cross churn and net churn, or cross retention and net retention? Which one of them is you feel more important? Like, obviously they're connected and you need both, but I'm also curious to hear, like, what are the latest tips and tricks how to drive upsales and net retention up?
Yeah, no, I think I think there is sometimes people think there is I mean, expansion and upselling is really important. I mean, you will have some churn on, most likely most companies will have some churn that is something went wrong and so on, and it's I mean, if you can work in a great way with expansion, you can have a great net revenue retention rate, which is what most people it's the most important KPI. And of course, if you have like 100+ net revenue retention, your business will never die, even if you don't bring in new customers. So that's, I mean, that's the machine in this. And I would say so expansion and net revenue retention, or growing that is really, I mean, that's really an important part of customer success. And to be what we have seen, and my own experience, is that if you don't, if your customer is not buying more from you after just 2-3 years, that's a bad sign. That's the customer, a customer that is using your platform, and a happy customer, they should be expanding with you. And my recommendation there is that you need to review your plans and pricing. If you don't set up your customer to be able to grow with you, then you need to review that. I would say that's like step one. And step two is there's a big difference between selling new business and upgrading and upselling. Where upselling and upgrading, you can only upsell a customer that is using what they're paying for already, more or less. So if you try to hard sell existing customers that have really bad usage, and I mean, that will be hitting a wall, right? So you need to link, you need to have a clear path. After onboarding, when they hit the new milestone using your platform, then they should be introduced to more things, and which should be a natural way to expand. The most successful customer success managers, they focus really hard on how can the customer get more value from the platform, and what kind of milestones can we set up together there, goals with the customer, business goals for the customer, and link those to expansion. And that comes back to the plans and the pricing to map those together. But that's how you have to view it. And I would say there's a lot to be done on expansion that can really offset any churn you have, and also make you an even stronger growth, improve your growth a lot.
Yeah, and we've been using these trigger events also to drive like revenue growth within existing customers. For example, with key accounts, we have lots of key accounts in the Nordics, and at least when they file the financial statement, we're automatically notifying the account manager that, hey, it's important that you take a look. Maybe there's nothing interesting or important, but I think it's just nice to make sure that we actually check what are the things they're mentioning in their annual reports. And skilled CS people, they can easily convert those insights into business opportunities. And it's also a very natural talking point. So because it's a simple automation, you create a task in your system based on that moment when they file a new financial statement. So lots of that type of things. I also like net retention being 100. That should be the ultimate goal. At least we try to use the methodology that if we see a segment where we feel that we cannot reach retention of 100, it's not a segment we want to invest in. Of course, if it's 95, we want to see if we can actually get it to up to 100, 105. But ultimately, I think all SaaS companies should make sure that they have net retention north of 100, and at least identify the segments where that's doable. Ideally, of course, 120, 130, 150, but that's really what's happening. I think the bar is getting higher, so you need to have a base that has net retention above 100. Hey, do we have
time is running out? Yes, we have some questions.
Do we have time for the polls? Would it be nice to collect some insights?
Yes. We did the first poll. And so we asked everyone why do customers churn? The number one reason being low value, no or low value from product.
Yep.
The number two reason is feature gaps or competitors, and the number three is pricing. So interesting, and similar to our experience, I would say that low value and no value. The reason behind that, you need to dig, of course, but a lot of times it's my experience is that you, I mean, have you been working with this customer proactively? It's a lower chance that they will not get value. So I think that's big room for improvement if you have big issues with that one. I would say within customer success, you can fix a lot of those things. Feature gaps might be a product thing. Pricing is, of course, it's always a debate. But yeah, interesting finding there. And we have actually we have a few questions. So we jump into the Q&A because so we can still keep roughly the time here. We have a question here. Is ideally the churn rate is as low as possible, but how do you set the benchmark?
I have an idea. I think I would, because if you just compare like the whole market, then you see that, well, enterprise has lower churn and SMB has higher, but I would focus on the product, the industry you're in, also the segment, what type of customers are you selling to, a little bit also the methodology you use. Are you following PLG, product-led growth methodology? Do you allow them to try it out before they sign up? And try to find similar businesses and then speak with those CS leaders and ops leaders so that you get the industry benchmark. And for example, we're using very different benchmarks for the enterprise business and the business we work with, SMBs and lots companies. And then we don't really focus on micro companies and small companies because we were not happy with the retention rates in that segment. But I think you have to carefully pick the peers, the lookalike businesses, and then that's the best way to set the expectation. The only rule of thumb is that net retention needs to be in the long run above 100%. That's the only way to really, in my opinion, to build a sustainable SaaS company.
Yes. And it's also, I mean, by start measuring churn internally and being transparent on that and talking about that and how can we improve and looking quarter by quarter or how are we developing, I think it's a good way also because I mean, my experience is that most companies can improve a lot here if they just put focus on it and are transparent and have a real sincere like view on this from a leadership point of view as well, that we need to fix this long term. So another question, who should create the ideal customer profile? Product management, CS, marketing, or all together?
I think obviously all input is definitely needed in my opinion, but I think when the founders are founding the company, they most likely have a vision and mission in mind, like there's a challenge or a problem they want to solve. And I think it's important that all departments and individuals are as aligned as possible with that ultimate goal. And then once you know that this is the problem or challenge we're solving and this is how we help with customers, I think then ops people, CS people, product people, and sales people work together to finalize the ICP. The idea that I gave, I think it's so easy to forget CS from this, but I mean, they have firsthand experience how are we doing with the ICP. If they see that one segment is always buying more and another segment is moving on, of course, it's important that ICP is more focused on the ones that are growing. And so that it's not only a discussion, but you use real data, like how are customers actually performing, and then you tweak the ICP based on that. Then another thing is that you should be able to write it down. And if you say that it's SaaS businesses that are located in Stockholm and are using HubSpot as a CRM, if that's your ICP, then make sure that you have the data for all the prospects, for all existing customers, because only that way you can make sure that you're advertising to that type of companies, you're prospecting that type of companies, and you also end up working with that type of companies.
Another question, last one I think we'll cover. How do you have the conversation about upgrading without sounding selfish, i.e. commission breath? I can answer that one. I think it's a good saying is you have to step off the solution. Sometimes we are very focused on the features. We released a new feature, now I want to push that out to my customers. But it starts, of course, with really listening to the customer. Where are they going? What goals do they want to achieve? Do they want to grow 30% next year? Can this new feature support that? So I would say that's the kind of discussions you want to have with customers, because if you hard sell a feature on a customer, first of all, they might think you sound selfish, as you say. The second part is that if they even accept it, but they don't use it, you will even lower trust even more. So the key with selling to existing customer is to link it to real business goals for the customer, and having your solution as a way to get to the goal. Basically, it should be natural. And I think a good way to talk to a customer about this without being too pushy or feeling selling or whatever is to use social proof. Yes, we have another customer that's similar to you. They also had a challenge around growth, and we did this together with them. And it gave this result. So that's a great way, I think, to talk to a customer. Use social proof. It gives you authority as well in the discussion.
Yes, I think also in the ideal way, upgrade discussion is very natural. So that's why I would also focus on the pricing. Like if you link price with the value they receive, then you basically have the same goal. You want to make sure that you deliver more value, they want to receive more value, and then it's a very natural thing that at some point you also move up in those tiers. I also noticed that in the chat there's a question about how should the commission part work on the CS side. There's lots of opinions and thoughts, but I'm always thinking like, what are the numbers companies are reporting to other stakeholders and investors? So I know that if there's a VC firm, private equity firm investing in a company, of course they want to see lots of KPIs, but ultimately they're very keen on net retention, net revenue retention. So I think if I would have to pick one, I would say if you want to have a commission on CS, make sure that it's on a net retention if you need to pick just one KPI. Of course, you might have tactical reasons to say that, hey, now we want to drive cross churn down, so let's put that one, or NPS, or whatever you want to use. But ultimately, net retention is the one companies are reporting to investors and other stakeholders. So I think it's nice if incentives and goals are aligned, that CEO and executive team is reporting the same numbers as the CS team.
All right, I think we could go on for a lot longer here, but this is a very interesting topic, and I think we covered some parts, but there's of course a lot more. We will share this recording. We will also send a link to your LinkedIn and to both our LinkedIn, so you can connect that way. And check out this SaaS report if you want some benchmarks there. And I want to thank you, Mikko. Thanks a lot for joining, and thanks everyone else for listening in. And hope to see you soon.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Have a great week and good luck for the week. Bye.